Hey everyone, welcome back to Talk Sox. Ethan and Brandon here yet again to continue discussing everything going on around the Red Sox right now. Obviously, there's a lot of news with the roster. Obviously the top prospects are playing super well down in the minor leagues. There's plenty to discuss, but something that we've been talking about off camera, Ethan, and obviously that's been a really hot button topic this whole season is Alex Bregman. Obviously, the Red Sox signed him to a 3-year, $120 million contract before the season. That has opt-outs after every year, so Bregman can become a free agent whenever he wants. And there's been a recent quote from his agent Scott Boras that is sort of lighting, fire to all these different rumors. And so I'll read that quote off quickly, and then you and I can obviously just chat about everything that's sort of going on with him. So he appeared on the 310 to Left podcast today. I'm sure some of you heard it, but the quote that stuck out to me was Boris said this about Bregman. He said, "The qualifying offer limits the markets for really great players. We've seen it with Matt Chapman, with Blake Snell, with Carlos Correa. When you remove the qualifying offer, the true value of the player is then exhibited in the market because there are vastly more teams involved in the free agent negotiation because great free agent players come to you and you also get to reserve your draft pick." So obviously, for those who don't know, the qualifying offer system is if a team knows it's not going to re-sign a free agent, they can give him a qualifying offer, which basically just means that if he signs with another team, that team that's losing him will get a draft pick from that other team. So obviously it's sort of this acquisition cost that comes with signing the player. Because Bregman received one from the Astros, he can't get one from the Red Sox no matter what. So that's sort of what the case is right now. So let's talk about Bregman. What do you think about, obviously he's been playing great, but what do you think about this whole sort of free agent situation that's going on?
I mean, since the start of his signing, we've mentioned this kind of, let's call it the clause here in his contract, and it's always been a double-edged sword, right? Because yes, it gives him the freedom to leave if he wants to. And on Bregman's end, if you go back months into our videos here, when we talked about the business end of his deal, he got a great deal, right? If he's not enjoying his time with the Red Sox, he's like, all right, I'm out, I'm done here. On the Red Sox office end, it's like, well, crap, what do we do if we lose him? Because we have such a great defensive third baseman. Unfortunately, I don't want to say unfortunately, but we've been moving Rafi Devers into a million different positions at
Yeah.
this point. And I don't want to say it's unfair, but let's say hypothetically, let's say for the sake of the argument here, that we lose Bregman, right? Are we going to move Rafael Devers back to third base after moving him to DH and then moving him to this next position? Again, I feel like it's almost picking on him at this point.
Yeah.
So I feel like I would hope that the Red Sox, one, keep him around, have the insight to say he is a valuable player, even at 31 years old. He's still performing very well for his age. Defensively, we've seen so many great plays, and we're only a month and a half into the season. It's a no-brainer that we have to keep him at this point. But what's your initial thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, as you just said, he's been great. I mean, he's more than lived up to the contract, which is crazy to say because he's getting paid $40 million a year. But, he leads the team in WRC plus with 165. He's got 11 home runs that leads the team. His 955 OPS leads the team. I mean, he's been statistically phenomenal in the middle of the lineup and on defense. And he's very clearly just a key cog in this machine for the Red Sox. And like you said, I mean, the Devers part of the situation is probably flying under the radar right now for people because, Bregman is such an important part of the team and, he's the main concern. But yeah, that's a part of the concern too, where if you lose Bregman and then you have to move Devers back to third base, is he going to make another big stink about everything? He's never been a very good defensive third baseman anyway. So it throws a lot of things into flux. I think it's worth keeping in mind that, obviously Scott Boras has long, sort of been opposed to having his star players sign extensions. He likes testing the free agent market. He gets really big deals out of the free agent market. So that's worth keeping in mind. I do think it's imperative that the Red Sox try to keep Bregman on a short-term deal. Again, as you just mentioned, he's 31, and so maybe giving him one of these like 8-year, 200 something million dollar contract. I mean, that could really hurt you down the line, especially because you have Crochet on a long-term extension. You just signed Campbell to long-term, you're probably going to want to sign Roman Anthony to an extension. You're going to probably want to sign Mayer to it, and so it's just the finances of the team. Eventually, you have to pick and choose which players you want to keep. But in terms of just, the short-term window that is sort of opened up here this season, Yeah, I do think the Red Sox, even if it's on a very similar deal to the one they just gave him, maybe it's, 4 160 instead of 3 120 or something along those lines. But I do think it would be worthwhile for the Red Sox to keep him at third base for the next half decade or so.
Yeah, and you brought up a very great kind of talking point too, which is our farm system and our minor leaguers as well, excuse me. At the end of the day, like we keep mentioning, Alex Bregman is 31 years old, and again, every baseball player is a workhorse, and unfortunately, every athlete has their expiration date. And I'm not saying that Alex Bregman is there in the slightest. Again, he is performing great as of 2025, but again, when we talked about Masataka Yoshida, for example, he's coming up on his expiration date. There's already, three more people down the line of like, the next in the timeline. So Bregman, he is the piece in the puzzle right now. But again, part of what I think makes the Red Sox so great is we're already expecting the next younger player here. So I'm in complete agreement with you that, yeah, maybe for another, few years to keep Bregman around, test the waters a little bit. But eventually you're going to have to kick him to the curb. And I mean, no disrespect in that sense, but also monetarily for the team, I would say his contract would eat away at a lot. Do you kind of have any closing statements about this?
Yeah, I think it's worth keeping in mind. It's only May right now. Bregman's not going anywhere for the next couple months. The Red Sox are looking to compete this year. So this is a more, a longer term concern in terms of like the very short term. But I would expect Bregman to opt out of his contract at the end of the year. Barring an injury at this point, I do think he's going to opt out. So it is going to be on the Red Sox to actually get another deal with him, probably longer term for more money. And I will say that I do think his market's going to be bigger because, as Boras said, he's not going to have the qualifying offer and he's playing better this year than he has in recent years. So and don't forget, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. just signed a big contract extension. There's not going to be a lot of big name free agents on the market competing with Bregman. You'll have Pete Alonso and Kyle Tucker, but outside of those guys, it's really going to be Bregman's market. So I do hope the Red Sox, get extension talks started just to lay the sort of foundation and the groundwork for one. But it's going to be very difficult for them if he gets to free agency, considering all the teams that are going to be bidding on him.
Yeah, I would completely agree. As always, we'd love you to hear your thoughts, comments, concerns in the comments section below. What do you think of Alex Bregman, and what do you think of his contract as it comes to an end in the coming months?